On America's birthday weekend, the UFC's All-American middleweight champion puts his title on the line at UFC 175. Hello and welcome in to MMA Live. My name is Todd Grisham. It's Chris Weidman taking on Lyoto Machida on Saturday night. But that's not the only storyline you should be following heading into this weekend. To discuss that further, we welcome in ESPN's MMA writer from Las Vegas, Nevada, Brett Okamoto. Brett, I want your top three storylines for UFC 175. Let's start with number three.
Well, number three, I've got the Uriah Hall and Uriah Faber, both fighting at UFC 175. And why that's a reason to watch is, first of all, these guys are just pretty entertaining. Their styles are conducive to entertaining fights. But they've also got some pretty good storylines going on as well. For Uriah Faber, of course, if he's not fighting for a UFC title, it's always about getting back to a UFC title. His buddy and teammate, TJ Dillashaw, now holds that 135 bantamweight UFC title. So we'll have to see what happens with that as long as both of those guys keep winning. For Uriah Hall, it's all about which Uriah Hall shows up. This guy either looks phenomenal or he looks like he doesn't even want to be a professional fighter and he's just in there going through the motions. So which Uriah Hall will show up at UFC 175? I think both of these guys are good guys to keep an eye on this weekend.
Uriah Hall was supposed to be the next big thing. He needs to start being a big thing pretty soon. He looked great in his last bout. Number two now.
Well, number two isn't for everybody, but if you like Cinderella stories, if you like underdogs, then UFC 175 is your card. Two of the biggest underdogs I have ever seen covering this sport. You've got Alex Caceres, who's fighting Uriah Faber in a bantamweight fight. Uriah Faber, in some places, going off as an 18-1 betting favorite. That is unheard of. And even more unheard of than that is the co-main event, Ronda Rousey defending her title against Alexis Davis. Rousey, in some places, as high as 20-1. The implied odds on that is 95% chance that Ronda Rousey wins that fight. And in mixed martial arts, you just don't see that. So Alex Caceres, Alexis Davis getting no support from the Las Vegas books, and we'll see if they can prove them wrong.
Well, Brett, I'm not a gambler, so those are foreign numbers to me. I don't really understand what you're talking about. Number one now, what's your top storyline heading into UFC 175?
Yeah, for me, the best reason to watch this card is the main event. You've got two of the best fighters in the world. Chris Weidman, coming off of back-to-back wins against Anderson Silva, he really has placed his name amongst the really top pound-for-pound fighters in the sport. Lyoto Machida has been in that conversation for years. Now he's in a weight class that I think suits him better at 185 pounds. He's undefeated as a middleweight, so you sort of got two undefeated middleweights going. Lyoto Machida undefeated at that weight class. Chris Weidman undefeated throughout his entire career. And I think that this could be potentially a Fight of the Year candidate. And a lot of people are going to say, well, there's no way it's a Fight of the Year candidate as long as Lyoto Machida is involved. He's just too elusive. He's too conservative. He doesn't mix it up. But I, for one, can't wait to see how Chris Weidman deals with that. You know, does he have the mental patience to go in there and systematically break down Lyoto Machida? Or will Lyoto Machida become the third fighter in UFC history to win belts in two weight classes? Because he already won one at 205 pounds.
Well, hopefully Lyoto Machida makes it an interesting fight, considering it is for the middleweight championship of the world, at least UFC's middleweight championship of the world. Brett Okamoto and our ESPN.com crew will be out in Las Vegas for UFC 175. Keep it right here for pre- and post-fight interviews, as well as complete analysis and highlights. That'll do it for this edition of MMA Live. I'm Todd Grisham. Until next time, keep fighting.